were going to go hire a president for the company. Is that right? And it just didn't work. You did, and it just didn't work out. And this is something that's really hard for me as well. And I think other founders is, as a CEO, you can call a president above you, at the same level as you, whatever you want to call it. Making that C-level executive or presidential executive position wrong is something very detrimental to your mindset and to a company if done incorrectly, right? And you've always gone through this. I've done this twice now before, hiring the wrong people. And it is a really tough pill to swallow. Tell me about a little bit what happened there, and how that affected you and changed you as an overall organization.
Yes, I mean, Sam, we're philosophically identical with what you're talking about the right people in the right chairs with an exciting opportunity, who love to solve the problem, who want to do the work, who feel like they're part of something too, and who feel well taken care of on a number of levels. I think that is like the key ingredient to making it all work. And today I feel really lucky that we have some phenomenal people here. And in 2022, I hired a president of the company. And even though my gut feeling was exactly what we're talking about, where it's like, do they fit in? Are they culturally what we need right now? Is this a great opportunity for them too? I went for the guy who had, the huge accolades in the industry, and kind of the rap sheet, every major name you could work for, he had worked for, and I had met him through the industry, and I kind of saw him as a mentor. He was, a couple generations ahead, and he had just sold a business that was really successful. And I was like, whoa, like he's ran multi-billion dollar companies. He just sold a big company for a huge hit. If I bring him here, we will do that same thing here, and I thought we'll scale, he'll have so much more knowledge about how to run a business than I will. And in some ways that was true. But I learned a lot in the process of having him here, from seeing how a more corporate operator would do things. But I think what didn't work about the experiment was, it's an entrepreneurial company. This is an anti-bureaucratic company. We're small. I love people who want to work their ass off and who like inherently get excited about solving the problem. And I remember we'd be sitting in his office, which we had to renovate for like $20,000. So it was like had all of his accoutrement in it, which was insane. My dad was like, "What are you doing?" And we're sitting in his office, and we would sit and we would look at these Excel files, and we would like move columns around on the Excel file for like an hour, with all the key people in the company, and it would spit out, an EBITDA number that was 25% above what we had done. And he would sit back and he like, very like, he would be like, "Wow, great work, everybody. We did it. Hey, this is going to be a great year." There was not 1 minute of conversation spent on like, but what are we doing? How are we going to get from point A to point B? What's the actual path we have to lay? And even though in my gut, I knew that was true. Like I felt it every day. I would sit in the meeting and I'd be like, man, like we didn't really do anything. Like all we did was look at a file. And I would say to him, "Hey, like, don't you think we need to talk about how we're going to get there?" And he would say, no. Like you, young boy, listen here, he would say, "We hire people to do that work." Right. And so of course, every plan, what was involved in every plan, it was, let's build a department. We need these 5 people. I have this guy who was the chief revenue officer. Let's bring him in. And it was just cost and cost and cost and cost. And then the big potential revenue never really happened. So, but I think at that point in my career, Sam, like the thought of having somebody who wanted to come work for the Bazaar, who wanted to come work for me, who had the accolades, it was a little bit of like an ego moment where I was like, oh, look at how cool this is. Like this guy who's done everything in this industry wants to come here and be with us. What a trip. And I had to go through that experience to learn that, like, the CEO role, it's really just about, it's have a great group in the trench with you and fight like hell. And so that was it was a really difficult time and a really difficult experience, and it definitely caused some damage. But it also, I think, like I value it because it taught me a lot.
So what you've gone through is something I've gone through as well, in deep level of granularity. And now my sole fiduciary job today at my company is I hire the best CEOs of my portfolio companies. That's all I focus on. If you say, Sam, like, what's the biggest focus that you want to go accomplish in the next year, is continue to hire the best in class and make sure they can go operate these companies to the best of visibility. So my entire investment thesis on my behalf is, can I do that really well? And if I can do that well, I think I can do a pretty good job for our investors and for our overall portcos. And what I learned from that a mentor once told me, he's like, Sam, you need to hire upon two things. Is you want to make sure that the CEO you're going to hire has been in the dirt. I was like, what does that mean? He's like, he's felt the pain that you felt in your days. I was like, why is that so important? He's like, look, if you bring someone from a big corporate conglomerate who's been with all the resources in play, all the fancy technology, all the fancy resources, but you're like a $20 million company, but he's operated at a $150 million company, he's never been in the dirt. He's never felt to have a lack of resources. He's never felt to have more or less, I'm not going to call it a C team, but like, let's say a B- team, not the A team, right? And work and maneuver with those type of peoples and those resources is a completely different game and a completely different business than operating at a $150 million company. So one of the biggest mistakes you could make is hiring someone with all these crazy accolades. And not to defame you right now, is with the best accolades who've been in the business. And yes, they built a distribution business of $1 billion, but you're not there yet, right? And that's where the discrepancy lies, is that the mindset is just so different. And the other rule that I was told is a 2X rule. So if you're a company today that's $20 million in revenue, you want someone who has operated a $20 million company and taken it to 40 and been through that journey. Not 50 to 100, not 100 to 200. Different. Again, goes back to what we said before, is that those growing pains are very different. So knowing those two key attributes is one of the most existential things for hiring a CEO. And it's actually a very narrow, filter through a lens of the people you can go hire. And the process should take almost 12 months sometimes. People think like going to hire these people, you put a job out on LinkedIn, you can go find some good people, let's give them a shot. Like, that does not work, in my opinion. Like, you really want to get this right, especially at the level that you guys are operating now, and you have bigger companies. A wrong CEO can go down to the management team and cause culture disruption. It can cause friction between you and your employees, where previously you had zero friction whatsoever. I went through all these, and I'm a pretty young guy myself. I'm 33 years old, and you seem like a young guy. And it's better to go through this now than going through this when you're 50. So I actually applaud you for making that risk and hiring the wrong CEO, or the wrong president, I should say, because it's almost a prerequisite for success. This is hiring the wrong people. You need to go through that in order to know what good looks like. And I think that is ultimately one of the best things any CEO can go through today.